Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Thomas, I'm from Maastricht, and we're gonna give you today a little bit of insight on all you need to know about student life in Maastricht, and because I think students can do that best, and I have the pleasure to work together with a lovely friend and Amanda. They will run you through all the infos, and me and Friederike from the International Student Help Desk, who's also here, we will answer all of your questions, which you please ask in the Q&A function of the Zoom below. And I will try to forward a couple of these questions also to Fran and Amanda to answer them directly. And with that, go ahead, guys.
Hi guys, I'll just introduce myself first. I'm Amanda. I am also a student here at Maastricht University, as well as the promotions coordinator for my Maastricht. I've been studying here. I did my bachelor at Maastricht, and I loved it so much that I've stayed for my master's as well. I'm originally from, well, half Irish, half Zimbabwean, so also international. So I know what it's like to move to distant land and not know the way of like everything. So, the way of the land. I was like, too many lands. But yeah, I've been there.
Okay, I'm Fran. I'm 21 years old, originally from Argentina, but I grew up in Dubai and moved to Maastricht the year before last, 2019, for my bachelor's in European law. I'm currently in my second year, and I'm also the content coordinator at my Maastricht. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy the webinar, and like Thomas said, ask your questions in the Q&A function, and we'll just give you an overview of what's going to be happening soon. So first of all, what is mymaastricht.nl? It's a one-stop information platform to help all new students settle and to find their feet in the city. We're a website, and we can provide information on anything from finding the best drinks in town, registering with the municipality, opening a bank account, buying a bike, anything you can think of. The website was created for students by students, and we're supported by Maastricht University, Zoid University of Applied Sciences, and also Gemeente Maastricht, or the municipality. So our information is official, and yeah, we're legit. And basically we're looking at a 30 to 40-minute presentation, and we're going to run you over things like housing, transport, what the city is like, the lifestyle, and a couple more things that you need to look at before moving here. So on to Amanda.
Yeah, so this is just a look at what mymaastricht.nl looks like. In Dutch we say .nl, which is probably one of the only Dutch words I know, but we'll touch on that later. So this is what the website looks like, basically. As you can see, we really encompass, I'm so proud of that pun, so please appreciate. We really encompass quite a lot about student life here, from transport, housing, finances, but we also try to get you to immerse yourself into the community. That's why we have sections on sports, community, and then we also look at the map. There's so much more, and we also give you a feel of what's happening in Maastricht with the media section. So there's a lot that we cover, and most of the stuff we touch on today is like extensively covered on the website. So don't worry if we don't cover everything today. We're here to answer questions, but also this website is literally just full of so much. Fran has worked tooth and nail to make sure that everything is there. So yeah, over to you.
Okay, so the first reason that you should consider and come to Maastricht to study is the diverse and international environment. So the city itself has 120,000 inhabitants, and 20,000 of these are students. So it's truly a university city. In Maastricht University alone, 50% of the students and 40% of the staff are international. And Maastricht itself is considered the center of Europe, so it's great in terms of airports and connections and travel. Obviously now with COVID, we're not going to be able to enjoy that as much as we would have before, but still it's a great town. And yeah, both Amanda and myself, we came from abroad, relatively diverse and international backgrounds, and I know Amanda as well feels like this, but I definitely feel like this, that we just like fit in perfectly into the entire environment because it's just very accepting and nice.
Yeah. On to how to get around once you do get here, that is the perk of Maastricht and the Netherlands is how bike friendly it is. You might be a bit like wary about the safety, but it's literally the rule of the law is like the cyclists always have like the right, like no matter what, over the cars, over pedestrians as well. Like obviously I'm paraphrasing, but you get the gist. Like they usually have the right of way for most of the things. There's a lot of dedicated bike lanes, so it's super safe. Like you don't have to be bobbing and weaving through the cars like I do in Dublin at least. And everything is pretty much in Maastricht about 10 minutes to 15 minutes away by cycling. If it's over 15 minutes, we always say you're in Belgium. Like you've gone to Liège or something, like you're gone. Yeah, it's super central. That's why we always like recommend, like we'll get into it with housing, but we always recommend like checking how far away something is to your faculty and to your home. Usually it's good that we say if it's 10 to 15 minute cycle, that's a good location because then you're just in the center, in the hub of everything. On the days that you don't feel like traveling by bike, we would recommend that you get an OV chip card. This is basically a card that you load your money on and you can use it on the buses and trains here in the Netherlands. It's much cheaper than paying with your card, like your bank card or your cash. If you want to go on the bus or on the train, it's much cheaper, and you can also load discounts onto it. So we always recommend that you get this. Information on how to get your OV chip card is on our website. And then you might have questions about how to get a bike, like what's the best thing to get, either a rented bike or maybe like a used bike. That is also on our website. We jotted down where to find it, what condition it should be in. So we also break that down for you.
Quick question about the OV chip card. Do you know how expensive it is?
Yeah, it's not that expensive, I believe. To get one that's personalized, it's already 750 euros, and you can buy it in the supermarket, the Albertine. I don't know now because of Corona, they had stopped it and they were doing it at the station only. But we also write down, correct me if I'm wrong, Fran, but I believe it was 750.
I personally don't use public transport. I don't have an OV chip card, but I trust you. And yeah, I know that they sell it at the train station.
You can also order it online. So the OV has a website, and we will link to it from our website, and there you can just register. I'm not sure, there are of course different abonnements which you can take depending if you have just the OV chip card or if you take certain things for free. It also depends if you have study finance or not. But the cheapest form is like, I think, definitely under 10 euros. Then you have the personal one, and you can travel with that on a definitely way cheaper way than if you would every time buy your ticket at the train station.
Yeah. Cool. Next, we're going to cover a little bit about the community and the lifestyle in the city itself. So Maastricht is known for a really diverse and great like nightlife scene. There's a lot of bars and restaurants. It's definitely more bar oriented than like big nightclub oriented. Obviously, you know, caveat COVID, everything has changed, and we do have a curfew right now, which is not great. But nevertheless, hopefully at some point it will be lifted and then you'll be able to enjoy everything. There's also a really diverse music and cultural scene. There's a big art fair that I never remember the acronym for. Maybe Amanda, you'll know it. It's TEFA. Yeah, this one. It's huge. Again, because of COVID, I believe it's not happening. But yeah, the city definitely has this vibe of artistic, maybe even a little bit of an underground strain there. So it's really nice. You can see some of like the well-known graffiti in the picture on the left-hand side. And then we also recommend that you check out our sports and community pages to find your people, your community, your group. There's tons of different options, student associations, sports organizations, Sports, as well as individual ones, gyms, everything you can think of. There's something for everyone. I've recently been updating the database, which links to our website with all the different options, and it's genuinely incredible how many there are. So definitely check that out if you want to find people, meet people, and just undertake an activity of any sort.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I'm always thinking, because a lot of people always ask, like, how is it meeting new people? And just to add to what Fran said, like, it's so like amazing how easy it was to meet people here, because a lot of because of the international atmosphere, as Fran mentioned, a lot of people are in this on the same boat. They want to meet people and stuff. So everyone's so outgoing, and there's a lot of opportunities to meet people with sports communities, or when we can, going out and stuff. So yeah, it's great. And then one of the other perks about coming to Maastricht is the scenic spots. And so we just thought we'd recommend some of them if you come to visit Maastricht beforehand, or if you come a couple of weeks early before you start. These are some of the places that we highlight, but there's so many more, and you can see some on our city map soon enough. So one of my favorites, at least, is St. Peter, and you can see it at the bottom of the picture there. I ran there once, and it was really great. But if you're not the running type like me, you can also take a walk. Lots of people like picnic and stuff there. So it's a super beautiful spot. But there's other parks in Maastricht, like the second one. And then my other favorite is the other picture that we have here, which is Marina Tibesson. I don't know if I said that right. If there's any French people, don't laugh at me. But it's a really beautiful area, and there's 2 cinemas there, which is the main point that I love it, because I love the movies. But Thomas is like
in between thing. So this presentation is being recorded, and we will upload it later to the Master Open Day platform under the page of mymaastricht, and we will upload it to our YouTube channel, so you can definitely look it back in case you forget something, or so you also don't have to take notes.
Cool.
With you can continue.
Okay, housing, big topic. We're just going to cover the basics. There's plenty more information on our website in terms of finding a room and searching for a room and prices and everything else. But the essential things you need to know are that if you're starting in September, you should start looking for housing at around April. Housing goes really fast. There's tons of new students every year. They all come to Maastricht. They all want housing, obviously. So especially if you want to get the nicer spots, we recommend that you start looking as early as possible.
Yeah.
And some of the options that you will have are Maastricht Housing. This is the official Maastricht University and Zoid housing agency. They charge a 35 euro fee. This is one-off, and it will allow you to access the entire housing agency's options. And there are so many of them, including the guest house, which is the university dorms. So it's a great option, and you are going to ensure by paying this 35 euro fee that you're not going to get scammed. You're going to get official housing, and that you're going to get a lot of the options that you wouldn't be able to otherwise through Facebook or private agencies or whatever. Yeah. So the guest house is a great option. I stayed there my first year and I really enjoyed it. There's lots of different types of accommodation, from like shared to I think private as well, and massive like dorm style buildings, as well as smaller rooms where you can share with like 1 or 2 people. So lots of options there. I don't know, Amanda, if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with Maastricht Housing, that it works on like a queue-based system for most of the housing. So we sometimes recommend, if you're 100% sure you're coming to Maastricht, or even like 85, we recommend like signing up, because the longer you are in the queue, the more priority you have to viewing a place first and stuff like that. So I'd say like go for it. That's how I got my apartment now, because I was in the queue for now 3 years. Mm-hmm. But I was
good. And that's a nice segue into the official housing corporation. So Maastricht Housing also allows you to access Maasvallei, Servatus, and Woonpunt properties. So these are like the social housing corporations in the city. The Netherlands has these in every city, I believe, and the government subsidizes them. So it means that you're getting really nice housing for very affordable prices, and they all have good practices, and they're social organizations. They're there for the students, not for profit. So yeah, usually there are certain things that, like, there are certain requirements for these housings that they have to fulfill, and that means that they are usually very nice, well maintained, in buildings with lots of other students. So that's another reason why Maastricht Housing might be a good option for you, because you can use that to find housing at the housing corporations. Again, more information on the website about these. Next, we have private landlords, which you can find through websites like Pararius, Kamernet, but also Facebook. You should really be careful with these because, you know, there's so many international students that come into the city and that don't know the laws, that don't know the language, and they do get scammed. It has happened before and it will continue to happen, unfortunately. So we recommend that you are careful, you read your contract, you do your due diligence, you research. And in any case, if you're unsure, you can always contact Her Team Zoid Limburg. These guys are awesome. They're a social organization that just basically help students with housing issues. They can help you with your contract, read it over if it's in Dutch, see if there's anything illegal in there. If you're paying unnecessary things like agency fees, which are illegal in the Netherlands, they can help you get that money back from your private agency. So we'll attach their contact information at the end, and you can always email them. They are super nice. They speak English, but they also speak Dutch. So that's a great resource there.
Yeah, just sorry, friend, just a
No,
rule
you
of
go ahead.
thumb, like always view the house. Especially now with COVID, it's been tricky. Like do a Zoom Skype call or something like that, because that's always like the first red flag.
Yeah, especially if you're looking through like Facebook, for example, or these private agencies, you never know what you're getting. Sometimes the properties don't even exist. So make sure, yeah, that's a really good tip. So the last options that we're going to give you are just miscellaneous ones. So first there's Zior. This is a massive private housing agency. They have a lot of student accommodation spread throughout the city. It's really nice, a little bit on the pricier side, and there have been a couple of hiccups with some people that I know with hidden costs, but still a good option. A lot of students go for that. Then there's the student hotel, again, really nice, but again, on the pricier side. But yeah, it is a student hotel, so it's just going to be students living there, and it's pretty cool. Then there's a Stay Okay. This is our hostel, and we recommend it for short-term solutions. If you have to come here and you haven't found housing yet, you can stay there for a couple of weeks. It's also really nice. Amanda did that, I believe. She was homeless for like a few months, I think.
I did not listen to any of this because I didn't know about it. So it was an adventure for the first 2 months of my time here. Thomas has a question.
Yes, we have, as expected, housing is a hot topic, and we have a couple of questions. Before I shoot the questions, though, I would like to add, there are, of course, a lot of private housing agencies in the city where you can also go to, generally with them, as well as with a whole private landlord on platforms like Facebook, Parius, or Carmenet. We definitely recommend reading our section on or the Her Team Zoid Limburg website, information on it, how to avoid being scammed, what basic rules of housing or housing rights you have, so that you go into the conversation with the right knowledge and not be overcharged or being like scammed in terms of being shown something or advertised something that doesn't really exist. So that first, and then a couple of questions. Somebody is asking if it's better to rent a furnished or an unfurnished room in the long term.
Personally,
you go.
Yeah, personally, I think furnished, like it saves you a lot of effort. I've only like lived in furnished for the first because it took me so long to get a house. I didn't move out for the first 3 years. I just stayed in the same place. It was gorgeous though, but it makes life easier. And in terms of like when you need to move out, especially for a master's, it's 1 year. Then you have to sell everything, or you have to check if the person getting your room wants to keep things, or it's a bit messy. So that's my personal opinion.
I feel like it does really depend on your own situation though, because I think we have to tell you guys that it's very easy to find secondhand stuff, because in the same way that you might at some point leave Maastricht and want to sell all your furniture, there are hundreds of other people doing that. So you can find a lot of secondhand stuff for relatively cheap within the city already through Facebook or whatever. So if you do get an unfurnished place, it's not going to be impossible to furnish it for an affordable price. Getting rid of your stuff is a little more complicated, especially where the garbage system of the Netherlands is so like bent upon recycling and not wasting and everything. So there's like designated areas if you have to like throw out big pieces of trash, for example. Again, our website covers all of this, but you can also get services like if your secondhand furniture is in good condition, you can get some secondhand stores in the city to come pick it up for you. So there are also options. And again, you can also sell your stuff. So it really just depends on you. I got a furnished place, but I would have liked to furnish it myself because I feel like the furniture is not the best.
Yeah. And
Like,
then all the options from
yeah.
semi-furnished or completely furnished, of course, definitely depends on how long you intend to stay. So for the master students, it's mostly only just 1 year, sometimes 2 years, which makes a really big difference. And then also so how far away you currently live and if you can bring easily certain things or not. If you're, yeah, there are a lot of options to get secondhand here, Kringloop and other or social marketplaces via Facebook or Marktplatz where you can buy stuff, but it is more effort, and then you also have to take care of the transport. So it all has its peaks and bugs. Another question. I'm currently living in Aachen. Does it make sense to keep living there and drive to Maastricht, or should I move?
Ooh, if you have class, like if you have on-site classes, then and you want to attend those, it will probably be a little bit too much for you to be going back and forth. But I think it really just depends on your personal situation.
Yeah, I have a friend that lives in Aachen, and he does it. I don't know how much of class he attends, though, I will be honest, but he does do it. And I think the only issue he found actually was because he'd want to do things with his friends later during the day. So then things would become a bit difficult for him. Like he'd always have to go home at like different hours of the night and stuff, or crash on someone's couch and stuff.
Right. And there's curfew now as well, so you have to take that into account. You have to be, not out and about.
If you start in September with your master and you live in Aachen, what you could, and you do have a car, what you could try is that you do the first month, see how busy your schedule is, how much real offline lessons you have, and then after a month also decide to move here. Also, the first 2 months are always really busy on the housing market because everybody's coming, but then of course some people drop out and new places come available. So this is a viable option, especially Aachen is so close.
But parking is an issue though, Thomas. I think parking is kind of expensive and complicated in Maastricht, so that's something that you'll have to also take into account.
Yeah, but at the MEC you can apply for student parking, so there's option. We have 2 questions which align a little bit. Is there some financial help at the university for people who don't have money? Although this maybe is about everything. But then there's also a question, there's a housing subsidy from the Dutch government. Would you recommend applying for it, or is it better to look for affordable housing instead? How proper is it to get funding, and what are the conditions?
Okay, so you're talking about Huurtoeslag. This is the rental subsidy offered by the government. I believe you have to be over 23 years old. So I have not been able to get Huurtoeslag, for example. Amanda, I don't know if you do.
Yeah, so I currently have Huurtoeslag now in my current apartment. And the thing is, you can also find good housing that's affordable in like shared housing, or even some people had private housing for pretty much the same price I'm paying with the subsidy added. So it just depends how far you look. I would say if you do find something good, go for it. If it is included in Huurtoeslag, just know that there's a lot of like things little hurdles that you have to like satisfy when it comes to applying for this subsidy. Like the house itself has to have certain things, and then you yourself, i.e. your age, your income. So it's a bit complicated, but I'd say worth it if you find it.
I would recommend always look, like, first of all, just start early looking for housing, and then look at your different options. Your house, like what you end up choosing does have to fall within a certain range, a price range, for you to be able to apply for Huurtoeslag. So it's not like you'll be able to find something very, very expensive and then get the subsidy. It has to be within a certain range. You have to be over 23 years old. the house has to have its own doorbell, so it has to be like an independent accommodation. There are a couple of requirements like this. All of them are on our website. We actually have a dedicated guidance document for you to apply for Hoortslag. And yeah, like Amanda said, it just depends on a lot of circumstances. So just to be safe, find housing that is already affordable for you without the subsidy, I would say. Or check the requirements beforehand and see if you would be eligible for it. But yeah, we have, sorry, go.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, we have a whole, sorry, Thomas, we have a whole section on all the different subsidies that you can get from the government on the website. There's one for health insurance, there's this Hoortslag, there's Zorgtoeslag, Zorgtoeslag is the one for health insurance, sorry. But there's a lot of help. There's even study finance, which you can also get, which is a little more complicated, but you can find all the requirements on the website.
Two shorter questions about the topic. Does a Facebook page exist in which students from UM are looking for a flatmate? And is there any specific accommodation for master students?
What was the second question? Sorry, is there any specific?
Is there any specific accommodation for master students?
Yes, to the flatmates one, there's a couple of Facebook groups that exist. We named them on our website. There we go. Or you can also like message me. We'll talk about people messaging me later, but you can also message me and I can add you to the groups. So you can find people. People do that a lot of the times. And then for the second question, to my knowledge, there isn't a specific one, but there are people that put out ads and say we're looking for a master student to join us in our housing or something like that. So then that would be,
I believe if you sign up to Maastricht Housing, there are certain buildings that are only for master students. So yeah. Just one more thing for housing that we also recommend is that you first get kind of virtually acquainted with the neighborhood around your faculty and to see more or less where you want to live. Obviously, it's not going to work out all the time that you will find housing exactly in the place where you want to, but it's a good idea to look at supermarkets, where your faculty is, and just where you're going to be spending most of your time at, maybe if it's the library or the gym or whatever, and then sort of find housing around that. That's also something we recommend. You can use our map to do this, which has a lot of different features, a lot of different places that are of interest to students. So that might be a good idea for you as well.
One last question about this before we get to the next slide. Somebody asked how busy is it to find housing, or difficult is it to find housing in the summer? Yeah, because you don't know yet if you are admitted for June or July.
So I looked at the question just there. If you're only applying in June, I think, then it depends when you're starting. If you're starting in September, it might be very tricky, but still possible, but not as flexible. But if you're looking then for starting in February, then I think you have a lot more leeway. But if you're starting in the September, then it is still possible. Just get on it as soon as possible.
I would say you're not going to end up homeless, but it's more maybe you want to get exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Maybe regarding the price or the standard of the accommodation, or if you want a self-contained place, you might have to just get a place with a roommate, something like this. But you won't end up homeless if that's what you're worried about.
And you could always move after, depending on your contract, of course, you could always move later on.
All right, are there any more questions or should we move on?
Is the situation different for the spring semester? So if I start in February, when should I start looking for a room in this case?
I would say
maybe December.
Yeah, usually I would say 2 to 3 months. It's a little bit less busy in this period because there are just less people coming. And 2 to 3 months beforehand, looking for something is usually a good way. You can also do it 6 weeks, but then you have probably a bit less options.
I don't know how it will be next year with COVID and everything, but usually the university has the binding study advice, which if you don't achieve, which is a certain amount of credits that you have to have, if you don't achieve this, a lot of people end up dropping out by Feb. So a lot of housing does become available in that period. Now with COVID, they've taken away this whole thing, but if it does come back, then it does mean it's a lot less busy at that time. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah. Back more or less to the topic of finances as well. We just wanted to cover expenses, so we'll just go straight through housing. So on average, a lot of the students are paying roughly about 450 euros. This is usually for a house that's shared with maybe 2 or 3 people, sometimes even more, but the price might vary then. And then if you wanted to spend more to get your own like personal private space, I'd be looking at about 500 up. 500 would be small. And then if you wanted to be a bit more cozy, you'd be looking up towards that price. It could range then to however you please to spend, 700, 800. But on average, some students also have found things for like 350. Also with the subsidy, you could end up paying like 200 a month or something like that. So definitely, there's a lot of flexibility. Yes, Fran?
Just 200 is optimistic. Like it's
No,
very, very
with the
good.
subsidy, as if you have a
Yeah.
subsidy, like, and the place, I don't know. But yeah, it happens. My friend does that. She pays like 230 a month with subsidy. So I was like, great. So that's on rent alone. Someone about the subsidy, this is a housing one, and it's called Huurtoeslag. Thomas has written it in the chat, so you can look at it on our website. It's the housing subsidy. You have to be above 23 to get it, but you can read everything on our website. Back to monthly expenses, on average, you're looking about 350. 300 to 400 is like the benchmark, depending on what you want to do. This is for groceries, going out when we could go out. Also not that expensive to go out, by the way. So like also great in that regards. Then your like study needs such as textbooks, or if you're like me and you get them online, then it's free. But I didn't say anything. So that's more or less what you're looking at. Fran, I don't know if there's anything else that would apply to subsidy and the expenses. I think that's the main gist of it. There's also a range of like farmers market, for example, you can get cheaper vegetables there as opposed to the supermarket. So there's always options to go around things. And then in terms of working here part-time as a student, the first thing I will say is we always recommend that when you've come to Maastricht, I think maybe it's different because now you're master's students, so you kind of are a bit more mature in this sense of like handling your workload, but still it's a new environment, it's a new study load. So we always recommend like at least the first semester, or at least for you guys master students, we'd say like the first period, don't start working immediately. Just get to know the city, get to meet people, really like immerse yourself in life in Maastricht. There's obviously less pressure with the binding study advice now, but that's always our top tip. And then the other thing is it's very possible to work along with your studies here in the Netherlands, even if you don't speak Dutch. A lot of people ask, it is nice. They offer like a course on learning Dutch, sorry. Learning Dutch for anyone that's new. So we recommend taking it just so that you can communicate basic stuff, because the Dutch people would appreciate you are in the Netherlands. But yeah, it's very possible to work there. And then on our website, we have a job section under finances where we list how to find jobs, what the Facebook pages are that look for student jobs. And on the they have like a vacancy board as well. So we'd recommend you check that out.
Yeah. Also regarding to question, somebody asks, first if 400 euros would be enough for food and transportation, and in terms of living, is English widely spoken?
English is definitely widely spoken. As we were saying, it's a very, very international city. Everyone speaks English and your courses are going to be in English. So yeah, even just in terms of finding a job, because the place is looking for applicants, for job applicants, they're used to international students. There are plenty of options with no English requirements, no Dutch requirements, sorry. 400 a month, I think you can definitely make it on 400 a month for food and transport. Obviously, it depends on you and, you know, how much you travel, how much you eat, but I think it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
Definitely. And in terms of are there student-friendly job opportunities in the university, I think you already mentioned it. There is the vacancy board, which kind of summarizes all the jobs, which we can definitely recommend checking out. Somebody asks, I might have a job offer for 3 days a week. Would I be able to follow my full-time program?
Depends on your course, depends on you. Honestly, I think that's very dependent on you. Some people can do it. Some people might not have the time to switch depending on your schedule as well. So that's really, I think, up to you.
This is also a reason why we recommend you at least take one period, and a period is like 8 weeks, right?
Yeah,
it's how the thing is divided in this university. It's kind of weird for me, at least it was, but that's why we recommend you at least take one period to see how much workload you have, how you're dealing, what kind of things you have to do, and then you can sort of find out if you would be able to fit a job in there and how many hours a week you would be able to fit in there. But I think if you are willing to put the work in, you can definitely do three days a week of work, and then the rest just use it to study. I do think it's doable.
Definitely, yeah. One additional question about the housing quickly, because it came twice up and I forgot to ask it, is which parts of the city are the most popular to live in, or how do you best choose where to live?
So usually, like they say, for popularity, like if you're on, Thomas, I don't know which is west and east part, but you're on the...
Well, east is towards Aachen and west is towards Belgium, or towards Flanders, which is...
Okay, so west, I believe, is where mymaastricht is.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the west side of the Maas.
Yeah, if you're on the west side of the bridge, the Maas, then usually a popular place is around mymaastricht, if you want to hear, so things around that area. And if you're on the east side, it's called Skanderweg, like that region is usually the popular side. And the east side is where Randwijk is. So if your faculty is in Randwijk or in that area, that's like the popular place. And if your faculties are law, SBE, FASOS, then you're on the west side, right? And that's like mymaastricht. But those
I would say, sorry.
I would just say definitely also open our map function, and you can within the other category find the university buildings and then figure out where you very easily have an oversight on where your faculty will be. And Maastricht is very small, so within 10 minutes biking, you are nearly anywhere, maybe 20, 25. But if then the areas that Mena just described, mymaastricht, Scharnerweg, but generally all over the city, it's pretty nice living.
Yeah, if it's within the 10 minutes, like Thomas said, then there are students there.
You can also send me an email. I'll attach the information at the end, but I have like a small breakdown of all the different neighborhoods that you can check out as well. So I can send you that. So yeah, just don't be shy, reach out. Should we move on? Do we have any more questions?
Too quickly, I mean, we're still, how many slides do we still have? 2 or 3, yeah?
Yeah, just a couple more.
Okay, then I think we will, 2 equal questions. How many hours are students allowed to work? So, or is there a maximum of hours you're allowed to work during your studies?
I believe if you're international, as in outside the EU, there is, because of visa requirements.
It depends on your visa.
I don't know the full figure.
I also am not aware of the exact requirements. I just know it depends on your visa, whether you need a work permit. If you're from the EU, there's no issue. You can work as much as you want. And in fact, if you manage to put in 56 hours a month, you can apply for study finance, which is a grant by the government to just subsidize your life, basically. It's a lot of money that you can get from the government. So from the EU, no worries. It's just check out the health insurance requirements. Again, they're on our website. You will have to get Dutch health insurance if you do decide to work. But for non-EU students, you can, again, send me an email. I'll do some research and I'll get back to you on this because I don't know the exact requirements.
Okay.
Thomas, should we move on or?
I think if I have time later, I will get back to more questions, but I think we already covered a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay.
For now, we move on.
Okay, so some arriving essentials. This is for when you decide to come here. First of all, health insurance validity. So this is really important to make sure that the health insurance you have either works for you in the Netherlands, or if it doesn't, that you find one that does. Dutch public health insurance is usually not available to you unless you work here. You can look at Dutch private health insurance. The distinction is explained on our website in the section under health insurance. So that's very straightforward for you. There's even a nice little chart made by the ISH, which kind of breaks down when you don't have to get Dutch health insurance, but definitely make sure that what you have works for you here. Also, check out, related to this, the entire healthcare system and how it works with the GP and everything, because it's a little bit particular in the Netherlands and it's not how it works in a lot of other countries. So read up on that as well. Next, we recommend that you register with the municipality as soon as you arrive here. This will give you your BSN, which is your burger service number, which is kind of like your social security number. And you need it for tons of things: opening a bank account, applying for a DigiD, which is the most useful thing when it comes to dealing with administrative things with the Dutch government. You can use it to apply for subsidies, for health insurance, just to receive letters from the government. So definitely do that as well. And then the third thing that we recommend you do is to get to know your neighborhood. So you can look at our city map for this. Like Thomas said, there's a lot of different features for you to find all the cool spots in your neighborhood. We basically just asked students for their recommendations, chose the best ones, and put them all on this map. So restaurants, secondhand stores, vegan places, anything you can think of, it's all in there. As well as dentists and GPs and pharmacies and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, definitely check that out.
We also, sorry, friend, we also remind you about all these things like your arriving essentials and all the essentials you need to know about once you move here on our social media, just to, because it seemed apt to mention it already. So it's over there at the bottom. I've seen a couple people already following, so thank you. And we'll also remind you about that on the social media.
Amanda's on top of her game. Like, she's always like sending little reminders like, oh, remember to check out the requirements for this, or to apply for this, or it's tax season, you're gonna get a letter soon, and things like this. So really useful information.
Okay, so on the topic of other useful information, in terms of visa, the university will contact you. So do not worry. In that case, they will make the effort and they'll sort out everything for you. But I saw earlier someone had asked about finances within the UN, and this is the email address for scholarships. If you want to check out what they have available, if you want to contact them, you can go ahead there. And then for other like financial things, you can, as Fran said, see on our website. She mentioned a couple of them already. And then the Student Service Center, you may have heard of already today. They're here for all the other general questions that are about your university life related to specifically, about your courses, registrations, that sort of thing. You can contact them, and that is their information there. And then on the next slide, I think, is the other. Yeah, well, you can check it out.
Then the next one after this one.
The next one but yeah, on top of that, like, check out our website, mymaastricht.nl. This is literally the tip of the iceberg of the information that is on the website. Again, you can also read about us. I don't know what's going on with my brain today. On our social media, we've got Facebook, Instagram, I guess is the most popular one, but we're also uploading this, for example, this recording onto our YouTube. So that's all at the bottom there. And then more context, there we go.
So yeah, guys, lastly, please don't hesitate to contact us. We're here for that. So even if it's just like, give me a nice recommendation for like a place to go for a run, or for a bike ride, or a walk, or like a nice restaurant to take away food from, or whatever, you can always send us an email. Again, if you want to know about the neighborhoods, shoot me an email. friend@mymaastricht.nl. You can also contact Amanda. You can also text Amanda through WhatsApp. The number is there. Don't call her. She does not like that.
I'm very anxious over the phone, and I received a call this week actually, and I was like, what's going on? It took everything within me to not hang up and then text them and say, hi, how can I help? But please only WhatsApp any time of the day. I may reply that immediate second, but definitely within a reasonable time, I will reply. I'm up at weird hours as well. So you can WhatsApp or DM me on social media as well. It's fine.
And then if you have more specific questions, you can always contact the ISH. So Frederica, you will see her name up there, is from the ISH. They are super nice. They are experts in a lot of different admin issues in the Netherlands, and they speak Dutch, and they are just very, very nice people. So you can always email them. And then there's also the Hertzienzoid Limburg that we were talking about when it comes to housing and your contracts and what's legal and what isn't, and Dutch and all these complications that come with housing. You can also email them. Again, super nice, really helpful people. So I believe that's it. If we have no more questions, thank you so much for joining our webinar. We hope you
ask a couple of questions.
We have questions?
We do. At least
I was wrapping it up, Tom. I was like, yeah, okay.
We still have a couple of minutes left, so maybe people also still want to ask questions.
Yeah.
But the one question that I still promised to be answered was about the car situation in Maastricht, and if you would recommend to have a car here, if it is expensive here in terms of parking, what you can tell about this.
Well, we do have a section on cars on the website, so you can read up on that for more specific information. Just in a nutshell, I would say parking is quite expensive and a little bit complicated. Most students opt for having a bike or just using public transport. But still, I do know people that come here with their cars, and obviously, if you have a car and you want to bring it, it's not going to be impossible for you. But
there is parking, but a lot of the areas that there is free parking are a bit on the outskirts
outside,
so not that many people around, which means a lot more dodgy activities may happen to your car. Not always, but just there's less surveillance over the cars. So there are a few spots that have free parking, but I'd just be wary if it's further out of the city.
I've heard of cases where people's cars got stolen because they were parked somewhere around the city. So another thing I was going to say is that when you walk around Maastricht, you will see that it's mainly you can really tell the focus is on bikes. So I imagine it must be very frustrating for people who drive within, especially the city center, because there's a lot of pedestrianized areas where you cannot even bring your car into at certain times of the day. And then even if they are not pedestrianized areas, there are so many students biking around that it can be probably very, very frustrating, kind of stressful to drive in the city. Yeah. But obviously it depends on your situation.
The municipality also tries actually to limit cars usage as much as possible. They really stimulate bike usage. You can bring a car, then we recommend applying for a parking permit. It's also explained how to do that or where to find applying that on our website. General recommendation is, though, you don't need one. In a lot of German cities, for example, there's no possibility without a car, or it's really a hassle. But here, in this size of a city with a bike, everything is possible, and supermarkets in close proximity, and also travel to other cities is mostly good, except you want to very frequently travel to German cities and Belgian cities nearby, then a car might be very helpful.
I forgot.
Also, gas is expensive, apparently, in the Netherlands. Yeah.
There's also the free parking for students near the Randwijk campus, not really campus, but buildings. There is one. I know a lot of my friends with cars usually just leave their car there for the whole week, and then usually cycle back and forth whenever they need their car and then dump it there. But it's not that expensive. So.
Then we get a question: which airport is the nearest to Maastricht?
Well, Maastricht-Agen, technically, that is the city's airport, but not a lot of airlines fly there or from a lot of places. So otherwise, there's Eindhoven, there's even Brussels or Cologne, Amsterdam as well, which is a little bit further off. I think it's like a 4-hour train transit connection from there to here. Personally, I was flying to Brussels. It's like an 1.5-hour train ride from here to Brussels. But I know a lot of people do Eindhoven or even Maastricht-Aachen.
Maybe then that's one of the last questions. What are the requirements for applying for health insurance?
Sorry?
Yeah. What are the requirements for
insurance?
applying for health insurance?
If it's public health insurance, you have to have a job in the Netherlands. The requirements are specifically written down on the website, but I think it's mostly that you just have to have a job. That's pretty much it, I believe, right, Thomas?
Yeah, I think first you need to check if your current health insurance has European validity. So it depends on your country of origin or where you're currently living. And then there are no direct requirements. If you're international students, especially from outside the EU, we definitely recommend Aon student insurance, which is also linked to on our website. And when you come here and your insurance is valid already, then you don't need a new one, except you start working here. And then there are a lot of different options where there are like comparison portals that we also link to in our health insurance section.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just saw a question in the chat
Yeah.
from Angela. Just because I know I had a friend that struggled with English when they moved here. This is usually dependent on what you're studying. If you have been approved, because the university checks your level of English, so if they've approved you, then they have the belief that you will be able to cope. And then because it's such an international atmosphere, my friend found it very easy to learn quickly because he was talking to a lot of people in English and everything. So it's possible. And there are people that struggle with it, but hopefully you find good friends and you can converse 24/7.
Quickly, in addition to the health insurance, any job you have here where you will be paying taxes, so to speak, you are legally required to take out Dutch health insurance. So this is just an obligation by the Dutch government. Yeah, we will explain everything on the website, so feel free to read about that. Okay, guys, I think we answered all the questions. Thanks a lot. I don't know if you want to say something as well.
No, just don't be shy. If you have any more questions, email us, contact us. We're always around. We're always here to help.
Yeah, definitely follow us on social media. We will publish information there in the moment that we need it. So in the month before summer, so May, June, July, we will focus a lot on housing, for example, and then when you start here also at the right moment, informing about health insurance, the garbage system, which for example here works completely different than somewhere else, but you wouldn't have to deal with now yet. And as Fran and Amanda said, just shoot us a message in social media, WhatsApp, or email. Yeah, thanks for joining. Good luck with the rest of the Master Open Day. And if you missed it or joined later, you can find the webinar latest on Monday on our YouTube channel and on the Master Open Day platform.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.